Welcome to the Foxcast, the official podcast of Frozen Fox Records. I'm Konextrax, your host and founder of the label. Today, we're thrilled to kick off our first episode with an exclusive interview featuring SCTRS, the founder of Cyduck. Feel free to say hi.
Hello.
We'll dive into SCTRS' creative process, their latest tracks, and our recent label collaboration compilation album featured on both Frozen Fox Records and Cyduck. So grab your headphones and get ready for the podcast for an inside look at the heart of Frozen Fox Records. Let's jump right in. This is the Foxcast. So to kick off, SCTRS, welcome to the Foxcast. Can you start by telling us a little about yourself and how you got started in the EDM scene?
Um, so I actually, for quite a bit of time, I did not listen to music recreationally whatsoever. It probably wasn't even until about like seventh grade where I started caring about music, and it was EDM. And it's kind of ridiculous. The thing that got me into it was Sunday, the Minecraft YouTuber, because he started the label 99 Lives, and it was just they were giving out like free downloads of their music, and I was like, sure, why not? And I started listening to it, and I was like, okay, I actually kind of like dig this kind of stuff. So I started listening to them a lot, and that naturally kind of just led to Monster Cat because of course,
I mean, it is Monster
EDM
Cat.
YouTube. So
Yeah. I never knew Sunday started a label.
yeah, he was part of the team that founded 99 Live, which is basically dead now.
Oh.
Um, but that's what got me into it, and that really just kind of started everything for me. I started listening to 99 Lives, and I wanted to like, I was like, oh, this is cool. I want to like do something like this and release there, and I started off making. There's a website called it's like Beatbox, I think, where you can make little like chiptune stuff.
Um,
I was never good at it, but I started off doing that. Um, and then I ended up using everyone's favorite app. At least I say that because I've seen a lot of younger people start doing music by using it. But the Magic's Music Maker Jam, it's an app that just lets you arrange loops, and that's it. So I did that for
I
quite a
I think
while.
I've heard of that.
Yes, I did a lot of that, and so I eventually I was kind of like, hey, this like isn't actually original music. What if I like actually did something? And I downloaded the FL Studio trial, as many people do, and I think it might have been 16 or early 17, 2016 to 2017. I I think I went on a vacation with my family, but I didn't spend all of like the money I was like allowed to spend on like souvenirs. And I was like, "Hey, can I just like put this towards FL Studio?" And they were like, "Sure." So then I had FL Studio, and I've kind of just been producing in FL for years. I guess that's probably like 8 years now.
Oh damn, longer than is that as long as me? I'm not sure. I remember I started on Mixcraft.
Okay.
Um, do not try it. Think of like Ableton but bare bones. Um, and I was on the FL trial for like the longest time until I convinced my mom to buy it for me for my birthday one day.
Fair.
I think I was like 15 or 16 at the time. And the only reason I wanted her to buy it was so I could actually open up my project files.
Yeah, that's the thing with the FL trial. It's like it's a pretty good trial. Because you get to like use basically everything, but then like you need to reopen something, it's over.
Yeah.
So
Moving on to the next question. What inspired you to create Cyduck, and how has the journey been so far?
Okay, so this is an interesting one because I did not. I did not create Cyduck. I am
Oh,
the third owner.
you are the third owner.
Yes, there is some like Cyduck lore.
There is
Um,
tea.
so basically, Fluix was the original creator. It used to be Cyberduck, and it was like a promotion channel that uploaded songs and like the Monster Cat visualizer. I think like Cypher music back in the day. Um, and he did that for a while, but I think he got busy with college, so he then passed it on to Puccio, who did a lot of graphic work for the label. But eventually, it's like 2020. The art quality is really good. I kind of missed that because it's mainly just me doing it now, and I'm definitely not as skilled. But he was also busy with college and was just creating everything took so much time, and we were falling behind on like the schedule and stuff. He couldn't really do it anymore. So then I basically just started doing everything. I
Yeah.
started well. He had started doing like distribution, but I like really started getting everything set up like ahead of time. But really, what led me to even like go there in the first place was that I had actually created my own like small label, and it didn't really like go anywhere. So I actually was running it with my friend Solaris, who occasionally is around in the for Cyduck. But we were just kind of looking for places to like other places to like release music because a small little label wasn't really going anywhere.
Yeah.
And I don't really know how we stumbled upon Cyduck, but we did. So we joined there, and we both released some music there. And they have like a spreadsheet for all their releases, and for some reason, I was like, I love this spreadsheet. I would love to work on it and keep it updated. So after kind of just like talking about it quite a bit, they finally just like let me work on the spreadsheet. And since I was doing that, they're like, okay, well, since you're working on that, you might as well just like be able to review the submission since that's like on the same sheet.
So it's like a
So
process building up until you became the owner.
yeah, basically, it was. I started reviewing submissions after that, and once like Puccio started getting busier, I guess I was handling distribution at that point. The stuff was getting sent to me. I was setting it up for distribution. And Fluix was well, Puccio used to render the videos after Fluix, but Fluix now renders the videos, so he's still around because I don't have the like After Effects and like the plugins you need for it.
Yeah.
But so he renders those. So it's when Puccio finally had like stepped down, I kind of just was like, yeah, I can try doing that. And it's been probably about like yeah, that sounds about right, 3 years where I've kind of just been doing it. I think I've only had the owner role for like 2, but I've basically been acting as the owner for like the last 3 years. And but I mean, I love doing it. So yeah,
Yeah. It seems fun. I know, one of my prime inspirations to make my label was because I knew someone who owned a label. And I was just like, oh, maybe I should do this. And
a
then
lot of people start doing that.
our visuals, I was actually like, as much as I was inspired by like Disciple, I was primarily inspired by Neo Aluminum.
Yeah, it's fair.
Because when I released on them and I saw that they were doing the visuals, I was just like, oh, what if I did like my own version of the visuals, but I made them like a little more glitchy, like fit the feel of the music,
Yeah, it makes sense.
like overload it with effects and stuff.
Yeah.
Until you realize what I make it in. Everyone else uses like, oh, we're using Hit Film. Oh, I'm using After Effects. I'm using Wondershare.
I mean,
And
if it works, it works. I mean, for
yeah,
the Yeah, for like the trailers and stuff that I do for Cyduck, I render those out in like Z Game Editor in FL Studio.
Yeah, and I've always been amazed when people use Z game because I'm just like I've looked at that and I didn't even want to touch it just because I don't know how I'd get anything to work personally.
Yeah, I mean I do pretty simple stuff with it, but you can do some kind of crazy stuff, and that's all like way over my head.
Yeah. Oh, I think I know knee aluminum. I asked the owner if what he uses. I think he uses Hit Film and Z game, which I'm a little confused, but I think I can get it.
Yeah, I mean for like the Cyduck trailers, I actually what I do is I like make the audio first, and then I render that out, and then I drop the animation in DaVinci Resolve, and then I like put the text on there because the text in a Z game is not very good. I haven't figured out how to like change the font from like the few preset ones they give you, and they're all like bad. So I just do everything externally, render it out, and then put it into Z game, and then it like does the audio reactiveness stuff. So I guess I'm technically using like two things, but
Yeah.
yeah.
That's one thing I like about Wondershare is like they just added these new things called audio driven effects and now I can like have it zoom with the bass. And that became like a game changer for me because I always put on the same effect of it shaking the camera. And I would have to find each individual kick and snare. And the biggest problem with that is that sometimes in the thing, I'm going frame by frame, and sometimes the final kick on or the first kick on the next bar doesn't align with the where the original one was.
Yeah.
So it just became like a game of like, oh, where am I gonna put this next thing? Because it does like transient is like in between frames.
Yeah, it doesn't sound the most fun.
Yeah, it was very nuts. Anyway, next question. Um, what would be the best way you could describe, like, walk us through your creative process when producing a new song or track?
Okay, yeah. So lately, at least, I have not really been producing like much music at all. I've kind of had like a lack of motivation, and also just been busy for like the school year. But really, what happens is I just randomly have an idea, and I'm just like, okay, I'll just like try to just like start putting like basic stuff down. Whether that be like a melody or some kind of like bass sound design. Try to do that, and then usually what happens is I come up with like basic idea for like a drop, and then I save it, and then I come back to it maybe like 3 months later because I am awful at finishing things. But
I feel
yeah, the
that one.
motivation, the motivation really is not there a lot of the time. So it really just sometimes hits me. It's really just like occasional, like spur of the moment kind of thing where I'm able to like fully flesh something out. Otherwise, it kind of just sits there and I don't really do much. But I've been doing like a lot of remixes lately because I have like that basis of something to work on. But I'm trying to get back to doing like original tracks.
Yeah. I know one of my key things is that with artist block or something like that, that's the term for it, I think.
Yeah,
That can become like a thing, and I'm at the point where like I'm trying to discover my unique sound, but at the same time I'll find another sound that sounds really good, and then I'll just be like, oh, which one do I do?
yeah, that's fair. I think I've always like I think there's like a some kind of recognizable sound to my stuff. I think um, I use like the same square pluck in basically every single one of my tracks at some point. But I do just kind of cover a wide variety of stuff. It's just kind of anything and everything. So I mean, I don't really stick to like one specific thing, but I feel like there is some like similarities throughout everything I make.
Yeah. Also, you aren't able to hear it on my mic, but I know this thing is capturing it. My mom is working upstairs fixing a room, and it sounds like an elephant honking. So, I just wanted to throw that out there for the listeners.
Fair enough.
I mean, like, what is that noise? Is this mic broken? Nope. That is
Yeah,
it.
I was hearing like a little something. I was wondering.
Yeah. Um, it's loud. That is a screwdriver mechanic. Anyway, next question. Now there's thudding. Oh, great. Do you have any specific influences or inspirations that shape your music?
Honestly, like I feel like the ideas are really just kind of random, but it's never like anything like a constant. I don't think. I think that I'll be listening to something, and it's. I mean, it just depends. Like if I have that like motivation, sometimes I'll listen to something, and something like similar just kind of like clicks in my head. And I'm like, hey, I would love to try something similar to this. Um, I think for an example, my track on like Alien Worlds called "You're the Melody." It's like a little glitch hop track. That one was like heavily inspired by Unreal by Marvels, which is on 99 Lives, as I mentioned before. But that song was always one that I really enjoyed, and I was like, I want to do something like this. I also have one that's like not finished, and so it's not not releasing anytime soon. But I made this like synthwave track that I listened to like the full album that came out last year, and I just like had this like pretty solid like idea for a track, and I was like, okay, I think I can like I had like a vision. I'm just gonna like go for it.
Yeah.
So it really does just kind of depend on like if I'm listening to something and I just like feel inspired in the moment. I wouldn't say that I have like a consistent like constant inspiration for my music.
Yeah, that's fair. Um, I know my like prime inspirations have changed. I mean, there's the big one like Skrillex, Ace Aura, those type of like major names in the industry that inspire me, but I've changed throughout. Like I remember my first alias Killer Sounds. Um, my worst alias by far. Um, like I was moving from Nanomake to Discers to God knows. I think my prime inspiration. I know I grew up on like Skrillex and Deadmau5. Those were like my two big ones.
Yeah, makes sense.
And then, I mean, anyone associated with EDM knows those names. Those are like
That's true.
you can't not know those names if you're in the EDM scene,
Yeah,
unless you're in like some specific scenario, like oh maybe your country doesn't allow that. Maybe then you have a different big name, which I would be curious to find out. That is something I will investigate later. Alright, moving on to the next question. Let's talk about the recent collaboration between Frozen Fox and Cyduck. Um, how would you say this partnership came about?
Okay, yeah. So this, I remember this was I think this was my winter quarter of classes. I was sitting there. I had like a 2-hour break in between my classes, and I just got like a nice little Discord wave sticker, and I was like, "Hey, I'll wave back, I guess, sure." And you just kind of mentioned the label, and we were like, "Hey, would you be interested in doing some kind of label collaboration?" You know, we've done some with the Half Heart Project and HB Media in the past, so I was basically like, "Yeah, I'd be down for this," but you know, had to ask the other people just to make sure. I knew what they were going to say, but I had to make sure.
Yeah.
So you know, they all agreed, and I was like, "Yeah, sure, why not?" So, I
Yeah.
mean, pretty simple, really.
I know, I've been looking to expand Frozen Fox personally, and I want to be like, hey, like, my thought process was like, hey, maybe I can, like, grow some other labels because I noticed that we're picking up some traction on SoundCloud, and I was just like, you know, there are some notable labels that I really, like, do genuinely want to, like, collaborate with on, like, compilations, and then Cyduck was, like, the first one to come to mind. I was just like, you know, that one might be the most willing,
That's fair.
but also one of the ones that I kind of want to watch grow because I've had so many like musical friends who've released through Cyduck, and I'm just like, I mean, if I can help my friends grow and another label, that's an accomplishment, I'd say.
Yeah,
Plus,
that
you
was
get
actually one of
some,
the first things one of the first things I noticed when I joined the server was like, you had like a role for like people like they're like I don't remember, but I saw like a Scaredy and like I think Time Warp was up there, and I was like, oh hey yeah, we've released stuff from them, so
yeah. Um, but yeah, that was pretty much my thoughts on it, and I was just like, oh yeah, we do have like different spans of genres because Frozen Fox has mainly been dubstep related in most of our releases, and I was just like, you know, I do kind of want some variation, and this compilation has definitely shown variation. Like,
oh
yeah,
yeah for sure.
this one, and that's the thing that standed out between like our upcoming Kitsune crew and this compilation is that this one probably had the most like differences in genres. Cause
Yeah, I
like,
mean we're basically fine with like anything. We think that like as long as we think like the production's like good, up to like our standard,
yeah,
we're cool with like literally anything.
yeah. Um, I know me personally, like the reason why I've set like our standard on Frozen Fox is because like yeah, we as much as we would love to release everything that we get submitted, I also want there to be like that inspiration to like do better per se, if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah.
Like the artists releasing with us, I want them to like shoot high or shoot higher at least. Because one of my biggest goals is like even if we lose artists, as long as they can grow, if we help them grow to like release with someone like let's say for example Disciple. That's an accomplishment enough. I'm just like if it like we were one of their stepping stones to
Yeah,
getting
I
there.
think that's like something that like I like the idea of as well. Like I mean, we don't like it's all by a track basis for us. So we're not there's no like legal documents that are gonna like force you to stay releasing with us or anything. It's always just been kind of like, hey, you want to submit something? We'll like release it if we like it. And I mean, we've developed a pretty like I think core roster that does tend to stay with us.
Yeah.
But there have been people that you know are expanding. I mean, we've had a few of our artists that I mean, I guess maybe have been on Neo Aluminum before, but we've had artists that go on to release on like, I mean, obviously not like Disciple level, but like Neo Aluminum's pretty big in our like underground scene here,
Yeah.
and
I figured
one
I
of our
think
artists group people he's even been on Argo Fox as well. So
yeah. And I love seeing that like development and I'm just like, you know, wasn't
yeah, it's
expecting
like
that, but like
yeah, I
hey.
mean I love having like a core roster. I think having like a community is really
Yeah.
awesome.
And I
But
believe
like
like I think all labels have like a core like set of artists that like consistently release with the label.
yeah, yeah, for sure. It's just I'm not gonna be mad if they like move on to something bigger. That is great for them. I'm all for that.
Yeah. I just like helping people.
Honestly, yeah, I think especially since I've had like less motivation working on actual music lately, the label has kind of been like something more favorable to me. I like, uh, I mean, I've mentioned I had like a smaller label when I like before I even joined Cyduck, but that's always just kind of been something I've enjoyed. It's just kind of like giving other people a platform. I've
Yeah.
just enjoyed being able to like have. I mean, it's not the biggest audience of the world, obviously, but it's nice to be able to provide that platform for people to like other people to have their music listened to.
Something I have thought about is it's also a really good help because there's artists out there who want to release their music, but they don't have like the money to like afford like a distribution service.
Yeah, yeah, that's true.
And that's where like a label could come in and help with that.
Yeah, I think with like art as well, if that's something that like people don't really know like what they're doing. I'm not saying that I'm like a great visual artist. I basically what I do is I get like an idea from them and I try to find like images that I can like edit together and like manipulate to look how they are envisioning it.
Yeah.
I don't have like drawing skills. So I mean I'm not perfect, but I think that like art might also be like something that some smaller artists like are wanting like aren't confident in like being able to do that. So having a label do that, be able to do that for you, is also a good
I think
upside to that.
another
I
thing to
think.
touch on that part is that it can also give like other artists a chance to shine, you know.
Yeah, yeah,
Like the like you don't just get a have a label and like there's just suddenly artists. There's like artists that are looking to do commissions and stuff. And having a label where you can do commission art and it be part of a song, which is why I like I am very like in depth with like crediting original artists or
that
like
makes sense.
cover artists, I should say. Just because it's
Yeah,
like,
that's something we've
and that's
for a while there. That's what we haven't weren't like explicitly like stating it because it was all basically just like, oh, I did it. But then there's also like the cases where like, oh, it's an Irie Arts release. Obviously, he did the art for that. So I've gone through for like the past like 2 years worth of releases and gone in like the descriptions and be like specifying like, hey, this is the person that made the art. Most of the times it's me, but we've definitely gotten better about like crediting that because it was usually
yeah,
just like the same. But there are exceptions, obviously.
yeah. And if there's one thing I give props to, I give massive props to Infect because with his recent releases, like the veggie thing on
Yeah, all
Disciple.
the veggie friends.
Yeah, he actually in the promotional trailers and stuff like that, he always credited the visual artists that he hired.
Yeah, that's like super respectable.
And I find that to be a really like special, I'd say. If that's how I'd put it into words. Just because you don't see that much. especially from like major artists.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at like most like Monster Cat releases, for example, a lot of the times you just don't know who made the artwork. There's obviously exceptions, but like a lot of the time it's just like, hey, here's a song, and they just like don't mention like who did the artwork. I feel like,
Yeah, I know recently, I've been finding this dude on my For You page on Instagram, and he was like the head artist of Never Say Die.
huh.
And it's like I finally know who he is, and he's actually going to be opening up commissions soon, although they're probably going to be pricey. He was the head visual
Yeah,
designer for Never Say Die, the label that probably I'd say started it all, if not Big Beat or Mousetrap or whatever.
yeah.
But anyway, moving on to the next question. What was the experience like working on the compilation album? Like any favorite moments or standout tracks from the project?
Favorite like I think from the Cyduck side, I probably have to give it to like Quest with Time to Waste. I mean, Quest always just he's always they're always cranking out like some pretty great music. I don't know how like the output is like so consistent and like so quality every time, but um, haven't really they haven't really done like much drum and bass. I think at least with Psyduck, I think the last Quest drum and bass track was like it might have been 2021. So like it's been quite a while, unless I'm forgetting something, which I might be.
Uh,
But I think that track specifically is pretty great. And on the Frozen Fox side, I think I do like them all, obviously, but
yeah, and I should
if I
get
had
that
to
out of
pick
the way. We
one,
all we love them all.
yeah,
All great.
I think if I had to pick one from Frozen Fox, it would probably be Dome Bones Desecrate. That one's pretty great, I think.
Yeah. I remember I discovered Dome Bone and I think I messaged him on SoundCloud through the Frozen Fox account saying, "Hey, I genuinely like your music. If you are looking for someone to release with, we got you."
Fair
I know
enough.
occasionally I'll find like underground artists that pop up at random, and then I'll just send them a message, shoot them a message. I'll be like, "Hey, if you're looking for someone to release with, we're here." I'm not gonna. I'm. Not, I don't. I never like try to instill the message that they should have to release with us or something like that. Or like,
Yeah,
oh, if you don't release with us now, then you're gonna regret it. Like, no. Number one, it's their choice. Number two, like, wouldn't it be more respectable to just let them decide if they want to release?
yeah,
Um, 9 times out of 10, they are met with like just no reply or whatever. Luckily,
yeah. That
Label
happens.
Radar has helped a lot.
Yeah,
Um,
I feel like that's a pretty good platform. The only thing that like I guess for us is just kind of like you have to use like the credits or whatever. So there's kind of more of a barrier to entry. But I guess that kind of goes back to the thing with like with like you for the label, you kind of want like the artist to like shoot higher. So like
yeah,
submit actually like stuff they're like super proud of, incentivize that. So
yeah,
I guess that ties into it. But yeah, I guess for us, we just kind of more of like a risk free kind of thing. Like you can send us anything, we'll listen to it, and even if we like don't like it, we're still gonna give you like detailed feedback.
yeah. So tying back to the question, what would you say your experience was like working on the compilation?
I think honestly, we did things pretty independently. It for on our side, we just kind of had like a Google form, and people would submit to it. It was just like our normal submission process, except on a different sheet. And I think your side, you did it through Label Radar, got your tracks, and kind of just like we independently decided like what we wanted, and then we just like sent them to each other, and we're like, okay, here's the stuff from our side. So I think it was. I mean, obviously, I don't think it was like the most like detailed communication for sure, but I think overall, I think it worked pretty well. It felt like a pretty natural process for us at least.
Yeah. So overall, pretty enjoyable experience, I'd say.
Yeah.
Now moving on to the next section. What would you say? What can fans expect from the Sectors project in the near future? Like any upcoming releases or projects you're excited about?
Um. So like I said, I have not been actually writing that much music for like the past like school year. I mean, maybe that'll change now that I'm like on break for the summer, but um, I usually have like an EP like every year. Haven't done that yet. Hopefully, but basically, I have some like remixes coming up, and I think one or two original tracks, and that's like basically about it. But
Uh,
it's definitely, I think the remixes are at least two of them are definitely more on like the weirder side of stuff that I've done. So I mean, like I said, I'm always just kind of like doing whatever. So
yeah. So that seems pretty understandable. I know, me personally, I've also kind of hit small barriers here and there, and I don't know the last time I genuinely like finished a song. That song I released for I'm putting in the compilation is probably like the first song I've done in the spur of the moment because I got like really inspired. I
yeah,
think I think what inspired me was Rock and Roll by Skrillex.
nice.
But next question is where do you see Cyduck heading in the next few years? Any like big plans or goals you're aiming for?
I don't think there's really necessarily like a huge goal. I mean, I would love to like the channel's pretty close to hitting like 500 subscribers, so I think that's like a reasonable goal for like the end of this year. But really, I'm thinking we upped the release schedule to like two releases a week. So I'd love to continue like putting out music. We have some fairly big projects that are releasing like albums, remix packages, compilations. So I'm
Ooh.
excited about that. But really, I think someone proposed the idea. I wouldn't. I think having some more like community activities stuff like that could maybe become like a compilation. I think something like that could be cool. Um, so I think maybe like in the next year or so, try to have more like engaging like events and like opportunities for artists. I think would be fun.
Yeah. Seems pretty good. I'm sure the listeners are all hyped. Let's see. What advice would you give to aspiring EDM artists looking to make their music mark or looking to make their mark in the industry?
Okay, I would. I think the most solid advice I could give is probably just like don't expect big things because I mean if you're especially if you're just starting out, what you're doing is not going to sound like your main inspirations, like your big professional artists that have like super polished, distinct sound. If you are just starting out, you're like probably not gonna get there very quickly. Like that takes a lot of time and
Yeah.
expertise and like honing your skill.
Yeah, and
So I
it's
think
like that can take years to develop.
Oh yeah, for sure. And like still, even like myself, when I've been producing for quite a while now, I really have not like I don't I'm definitely not as like skilled as like other people I know. So I think something like pretty huge to consider is just like don't necessarily like I mean set goals for yourself, but don't like set super big goals. Like
You don't
I
set
you know
like
there
unrealistic standards.
yeah, it's like if you're just starting out, you're like if you're saying like, "Oh, I'm going to be on Monster Cat." Like I don't think that's going to like happen for most people that think that. I granted I have interacted with people who have gone on to release on Monster Cat, Cloud Cage Convexity, but like that's not necessarily something that's like a guaranteed thing. It takes a lot of skill. Um, industry connections help a lot too. But I think really what you should be focusing on is just kind of like learning and focusing on your like craft instead of just like aiming high. I think it's more about like what's more useful is just kind of like building your knowledge, especially just try out things, get feedback from other people. That's also always great, so you know like what like you should be doing. If you're just like kind of making music in like a little echo chamber by yourself, you're never really giving yourself much room to improve. So
Yeah.
definitely just get feedback from other people, focus a lot on your craft, and I think that's what will really help you develop as an artist.
Yeah. And I feel like this all can tie into this next question I was gonna ask. Um, how do you stay motivated and inspired in such like a competitive field?
That is a great question because the answer is I do not. Um, because like I said, I have not really had the motivation to do much stuff. But I guess that is kind of like a thing. I've just been kind of like you get in your own head sometimes. I think,
Yeah.
especially in my position where like I'm running like this label, and I've been releasing on this label for years now, and we keep getting submissions, and like people are the artists that are sending submissions. They're getting pretty good. I think we'll definitely be like increasing our standards as time goes on. But there's always that like part of me that's just like, oh, at some point we're gonna like get to the level where like that's like above like my production skill. Like, how can everyone else just be like so much better than me? And I'm just getting in my own head too much. Is really what that comes down to.
Yeah. I feel
Like I
that.
said, I think that it really is just kind of like you want to focus on yourself, not others, because if you do that, you're gonna start getting into like that toxic headspace where like, oh, I'm not good enough. Everything I make is like awful.
Yeah, I
So it
remember
really
I
is just
hit
kind of
that
focusing
point
on
one
yourself.
time in my career, but I know I snapped out of it within the same week because I was just like, bruv, I'm about to get depressed over a remix that I made that didn't get accepted into the competition
Yeah,
when I could just push myself further in the future or something.
yeah.
Yeah. Now let's move on to the entertainment side of things. If you could collaborate with any historical figure on a track, who would it be and what genre would you produce?
Um, I think just because I've already done it, like as like a joke. Not really historical figure. I mean, notable person for sure, but I mean they're still alive. But I think like Obama because I made like Obama core in like freshman year of college. It was like a hardcore
Obama.
track with like a bunch of like
Obama
Obama
core.
vocal. Yeah, it was like a bunch of Obama vocal chops. and it was really stupid.
Dang. I wasn't expecting the Obama Obama core. That is damn.
It's untapped potential right there.
That is just amazing. Who could have thought up with such ingeniosity? That is not a word. Unless it is. I'll Google that later. Thoughts on thoughts on Lumpasketty.
Okay, I like unironically enjoy Sketty Rhythm. Like, I actually, I'm not a huge Disciple guy. I'm gonna be honest. I think that a lot of like roundtable stuff really is not for me.
Yeah, that
Sketty
I'll
Rhythm is unironically one of my favorite tracks off of that comp.
just because of
Um,
how different it is. It's
it's just like it's so simple, but like it for some reason, and I don't understand how, but it just kind of like goes a little bit. So I just like enjoy that one, but in general, I think that after a bit, it kind of got old. I think that like the first EP was like uh cool or whatever,
yeah,
but as like time has gone on, I feel like Lumpasketti's kind of just gotten like
stale.
a little stale.
Yeah,
Like by the time that Simulation remix came out, I was just kind of like, I'm over this. I didn't really think it was like that funny.
yeah. I think one thing I will give props to is probably the Lumpasketty feature on Virus Syndicate's thing. Because it wasn't like 100% like all goofy and silly. Like it did actually have some like professionality to it, I'd say.
Yeah, I can respect that.
Which did stand out from pretty much a lot of Lumpasketty stuff. I remember looking through Lumpasketty's account, going through his like first songs, and he remixed like a bunch of Skrillex songs, and they were like, oh, they were much worse than what he's doing right now.
Not too surprised.
But part of like originally I thought, okay, what if this is just a normal Disciple artist that's just joking around? And that's why he got on Disciple. But after seeing his account, I'm just like, okay, who is this man and how did he genuinely get onto Disciple?
Yeah, it's. I'm of the belief that it's just kind of like a joke by
Yeah,
like I don't know exactly who, but I have kind of gotten tired of it. Like I welcome like kind of goofy stuff. I am no stranger to making goofy stuff. I release something on Cyduck for April Fools like every year, but I feel like I don't know if it's just the style or something. It's just gotten a little stale for me.
yeah. Well, it looks like it's time for the rapid fire round where we ask like 4 questions. All right, let's go. Answer with the first thing that comes to mind. Favorite synth.
I basically just use like Serum a lot. That's basically it. Vital sometimes, but mainly Serum.
Fair enough. Morning or night owl?
I am not a morning person. Absolutely a night person.
Weirdest sound you've ever used in a track?
That would probably be like a variety of sounds. For my April Fool's track this year, Cigarette Monkey, which is just it's it's like Bloons TD6 funk. It started off with I took an image of like the dart monkey from Bloons TD6, and I photoshopped out the dart that he's holding and replaced it with a cigarette, and then I dropped that PNG into Serum as a wavetable, and I made a sound out of it. And then I was like, I just made like a whole track out of it, and there's like the vocal chops in the track are like the hero Quincy voice lines just like chopped up and like pitched down. And there's like a constant like percussion loop, which is just like the balloons popping. And there's also like some other like percussion noises, which are like placing a bomb shooter and selling it. And also like the sound effect when you like hit the golden balloon is also in there too. So it's just like a bunch of random like balloon sound effects, plus like the one sound I made from like the cigarette monkey image.
That's wild. All right, and final one. Go-to snack during long studio sessions.
I don't think I ever really stick to anything specific, but I will say I do enjoy the mini chewy sweet tarts a lot. So probably those.
Nice. The mini chewy sweet tarts. I'm not sure if I've heard of those ones or seen those ones. I think I know about the like the crunchy ones though.
Yeah, yeah.
All right. Now moving on, transitioning out of the rapid fire round. Let's go to what's the funniest or most memorable thing that's happened while you were producing?
Oh, okay. I would say I guess probably the entire process of like making the April Fool's track for what was it? 2021, I think? Or no, it's 2022. Um the song was called This Track Goes So Hard, Feel Free to Screenshot. And it's just like a What the Dog Doing trap remix. But it just like started off as like something really stupid with like a one note 808 trap beat with like What the Dog Doing on it.
What the dog doing?
But yeah, basically just like that. And it was really stupid, but then I just like kept adding more stupid things to it, like the Taco Bell noises in there. Um, it has like My Name Jeff in there
My
at some
name is
point.
Jeff.
Yeah. And then like the hi hat, I like messed around with the iPhone alarm noise and like pitched it up or whatever. So the hi hat is like the iPhone alarm noise, and there's the Vine boom as well. Just a bunch of like random stupid stuff, and then like the midsection is like the Soulja Boy Rick and Morty acapella, and like the whole track kind of just came together in a really stupid way. But I was making this like in my dorm, and my roommate was like, "Yo, this goes hard," and like soon enough, like the entire like floor in my building was like, "Yo, this goes so hard," and it was just like it was really stupid. And I don't know why everyone liked it so much, but that was pretty enjoyable, I think.
Yeah. I can't get over what the dog doing.
Yeah,
I'm surprised
actually,
Obama didn't come up.
that one like that one was like funny, but it didn't end up sounding too good. But another thing about that What the Dog Doing Trap remix. So my mom actually just like posts like every time I release a track, she posts about it on
Oh
Facebook,
no.
which is kind of funny.
She posts what the
But
dog do.
yeah, she did, and I didn't know about it because I don't check Facebook. But because she finds out when I release a track because I post about it on my Instagram, and she follows me, so she sees that and she posts it. But it was an April Fool's track that wasn't distributed because it contained like 10 million copyrighted samples, so I didn't post about it. But the way I found out that she posted about it was because I was gonna like I think I was going out to like grab some food with my girlfriend, and she pulls up to like the front of my residence hall, and I just hear like What the Dog Doing trap remix like blasting out of her car at full volume, and I'm just like, how did she find this? Because she doesn't listen to my music because she's not into EDM. But she just pulls up blasting that full volume, and I'm just like, how did you find this? And then she told me that like my mom posted it.
Oh my god. Damn. Full blast?
Basically, yeah, with like windows down and everything.
Damn. I can't tell if that would just be funny or embarrassing. No.
I have no shame.
I guess that's good. This next one might be an interesting question. Do you have any like habits or hobbies outside of music that fans might not know that might find surprising?
Okay, I mean, if you like really know me or read like my Discord bio, you would probably know this, but especially if you can like make the connection from like the track name of my song on the compilation, Voltage. Yeah, that's a Mountain Dew flavor. I have tried so many. I have tried 146 flavors of Mountain Dew.
I think I read that. I
And
didn't know if you were joking or being
no, that's
serious.
real. That is very real. um,
How do you keep
and that's not
counts?
even all of them.
Wait, what?
I there's like a checklist. But yeah, basically I've bought like a bunch of them off like eBay, like all the discontinued ones. But every time they like come out, I always make sure to get my hands on them and like drink them, and then I put them on like a tier list. I actually had it like in person as well. Like I got like prints for all of them, and I had like a big tier list on my wall, but it's taken down since I moved out of college.
Fair.
But that it's a little ridiculous how many there are, but that is something that I am pretty invested in, I guess.
Worst flavor?
Oh, the worst flavor would be Johnson City Gold, I think, because it's like malt beverage flavor, so it's just like non-alcoholic alcohol flavor.
Ooh,
And it's like, why would you drink that?
best flavor?
Best flavor, I'd have to say Berry Monsoon from Sam's Club, which is now discontinued. That one was like, it was berry lime, but it basically just tasted like a melted blue slushy, and it was like really good.
Now that I know that you have a Sam's Club and you also have the same problem, what is up with Sam's Club and discontinuing all their products?
I honestly don't know. I actually don't even like go there. My girlfriend used to work there, so she would get me free berry monsoon.
Yeah, my grandma would used to take me there to go like shopping. Uh, that is one thing I will miss about my grandma is shopping at Sam's Club, surprisingly. That's because she would always ask me, "Hey, any chips you want?" I'd
Oh
never
yeah,
know
they got
what
like
to
the big
pick.
bag.
It's like, oh, I've tried all these, and those other ones don't seem that good. But at the same time, I feel like my taste buds are bored of these ones.
That's fair.
It's like I'm hungry, but for some odd reason, my brain's being picky, and I'm not usually picky. I'm gonna
Yeah,
throw bacon on
I'm
the
the
table. I'll
opposite.
eat it. It doesn't matter how much I've eaten bacon. I'll eat bacon all the time. Not to offend all the vegan.
Fair enough.
All right, moving on to this should be a little interesting. What's on your personal playlist right now? Any tracks or artists in the underground scene you're currently obsessed with? Probably not obsessed, but
Okay, so my personal playlist, I've just been listening to like my favorites playlist, which I think I can check, is like 733 songs.
oh dear God.
um,
Is it
I
like the
listen to
like
like
songs?
it's so I have like how many? I have 4,718 songs liked. So I narrowed it down to like the ones I like won't skip, which is still like 700. But
I
I
feel you on
don't.
that one.
Yeah,
I have so many like songs, but then I skip half of them.
yeah, I think that like in terms of like underground stuff, I've honestly not really been keeping up with like that much like underground EDM at all. I've been pretty like content just listening to my favorites playlist since it's like so long and like it'll take me forever to get through just like one run of it.
Mm.
Um, but like in terms of stuff that's on there, um, a lot of people probably grill me for it, but I enjoy quite a bit of Taylor Swift, like a lot, like probably an unreasonable amount, which is kind of weird considering that like I listen to like dubstep, but you know, hey, whatever. So there's that. A lot of like Monster Cat tracks, I think. Also a lot of Fox Stevenson, Eden, Daft Punk as well, and also like basically early 2010s like nostalgia pop stuff.
Yeah. Oh, those are the bomb. Owl City
Yeah,
Fireflies.
yeah, well, like
Uh,
that one. That's on there.
yeah. Or Nelly, Just a Dream.
Yeah,
You got that
there's
one.
like a lot of them.
Yeah. I don't know what it was about that era. Maybe it was just the dance music being in the mainstream for pop or something like that. But oh no, they just seemed good.
Yeah, I think that like honestly, I think a lot of that early 2010s pop music is kind of what helped get me into EDM. Like it was really
Yeah.
like
I always t
Minecraft YouTube label that like pushed me into it. But like I think hearing like all like the clearly electronic like inspired pop songs of that era
Yeah.
really like kind of pushed me towards it. Like
I've
I guess
always
even with like the example of Taylor Swift, like I knew you were trouble is straight up just like dubstep. So
yeah.
yeah.
And I've always been telling my coworkers recently the downfall of music happened when when Miley Cyrus released Wrecking Ball.
That is one of the songs.
I don't know what's up with modern day pop music though. I've like been completely turned off of it.
I think there's like the occasional good song here or there,
Yeah, there
but
is.
it's not like it's. I mean, obviously, you know, nostalgia or whatever, but like it doesn't hit the same.
Yeah.
A lot of the stuff just seems like so soulless and like boring nowadays.
Yeah.
It feels like.
But moving on, we got as an emerging artist, do you see yourself in the next year or two? Do you have any like specific goals or milestones you're aiming for personally?
Honestly, I don't think there's anything like too specific. I mean, I guess kind of not really having much motivation for music stuff is kind of just. I mean, I'm just gonna keep releasing on Cyduck likely. Probably do more releases with HB Media. I've released there quite a bit as well. But overall, it's just kind of like I guess my main focus now is more working on the label itself rather than music. But I would love to, you know, improve as an artist and be able to branch out to like more smaller labels. Like I'm not
Yeah.
gonna like set anything big because I know I'm like not like ready for that. But I'd love to. I like small labels. I love branching out and releasing on other places.
Yeah. There will be one thing I want to mention to all our listeners. We do want to hear from you, so feel free to share your favorite sectors song on social media with the hashtag Foxcast favorites, and we'll feature some of your favorites in our new playlist, the Foxcast faves. That's a new thing we're
Nice.
gonna be starting. All right, now we're moving on to our final part. Um, let's see. Other than now, would you say would be able to share a time when you felt like really discouraged in your music career and how you overcame it?
I gotta think about that one. Let's see. Yeah, I think that um that would have probably been I guess that would be 2020, maybe. I had I think what really around that time is yeah, earlier 2020. I guess it was April. We Cyduck did a label collaboration with like the Half Heart project, and under my old alias, I actually had a release there. It's since been taken down from it was like a remix package. Someone wanted theirs removed, so they had to remove the whole package. So it's not up anymore.
Oh no.
But then I had my track with on that compilation, and then I think in 2021 I had I had like a track on one of their compilations where they made like a sample pack from any artist could like submit something, I think, and we just made tracks out of using those samples. So I had like 3 releases total, but I was working on like one of like my best tracks, I think, at the time, and I wanted to release it on Half Heart, and it took them like forever, but they kind of like they eventually got back to me, and they like rejected it, and they didn't really like give a reason why, which
That's what
particularly like it felt a little discouraging because like that was one of my best works at the time, I think, and it's just kind of like, well, I don't really know what I can improve
Yeah, and
for it.
they should at least give you a reason why.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure if it's like the same. I've kind of just drifted away from that community in general, honestly. I've mainly been more focused on like, running my own label.
Yeah.
But I don't really have any bad blood with them. I know like like we recently started like a submissions account to reach out to the artists instead of just like telling them personally, because that like I didn't want anyone to take it like personal, and I also not having like anyone to like hide behind kind of just like discouraged me from like letting people know what we like if we're like denying the track. So creating that account really has like helped a lot in like being like, hey, we didn't think the track was like up to our standards, and like here's the reason why. We like love to be like give feedback and stuff, but I guess that's kind of besides the point. I think at that point in time, I was just kind of like disappointed because that was one of my like best tracks, and it really was. I think just kind of not realizing because Cyduck and Half Heart were around like the same size at one point, and I mean, if you know Half Heart, their quality standards are like much higher nowadays. So I think for me, it was really just kind of like I didn't really recognize how much they had developed as a label. So I just kind of like was assumed like, oh yeah, this is probably my best thing. So like surely they would accept it, and then they didn't, and I was like pretty bummed about that. So I sat on that one for quite a while. I ended up changing it a little bit and ended up releasing it on the Cyduck and HB Media compilation. But I think what I really ended up just doing around that time was just kind of like taking the time to just, like I said, just kind of like focus on like what I'm doing. I mean, I kept producing, I kept releasing stuff, but I did kind of try to like fine tune more what I was doing specifically with that track to make it accomplish like the best potential that it could have.
Yeah. I know you gave some advice earlier, but I am curious, what would you say is the biggest piece of advice that you have received?
Um, that I've received. I guess that I would say probably, um, just I've been told like I guess kind of like mixing advice, mixing and mastering is like super important, and like I mean it kind of sucks to do, but like it is like very crucial. So
Yeah.
I have, yeah, I've
It's also one of the most tedious processes too.
yes, like I actually just recently finished a track for an upcoming compilation. Um, that has been basically finished, and I just like didn't want to mix it, but it's been like finished for like months. But aside from that, so like I think really great advice that I've been given is just like, um, just spend time really caring about the mix in your track. I think just like a side piece of advice I've heard is just kind of like, um, when you're mixing, if you like turn down the master like halfway and just like kind of listen to it and like see like what's the loudest, because like when it's like a choir over volume, you can just kind of pick out like what's too loud at that point.
Yeah.
So that's been useful to me. But just like in general, mixing is like super important, and it can like make or break a track for sure.
Yeah. Well, I'm checking the time right now. It looks like we're an hour and 11 minutes in. So,
Dang.
I will say, I think that's gonna wrap it up for our first episode of the Foxcast. I do want to give a big thank you, Sectors, for joining us today and sharing such insightful and inspiring stories.
Well, thank you for having me.
You know, it's been an absolute pleasure getting to know more about your journey and the incredible work you're doing with Cyduck. And to all our listeners, thank you for tuning in. We hope you enjoyed this episode as much as we did. Don't forget to follow us on social media and subscribe to the Foxcast so you never miss an episode. If you have any questions or topics you'd like us to cover, feel free to comment down below or reach out to like the Frozen Fox Records email. We'd love to hear from you. Stay tuned for more exciting interviews, music insights, and behind the scenes looks at the world of Frozen Fox Records. And until next time, keep the music alive and the beats dropping. This is Konextrax signing off. Catch you on the next episode of the Foxcast. Happy to have you, Sectors.
Yes, happy to be here.
You.